The wind suddenly stopped. Then the entire forest fell into a silence you had never heard before. No birds sang anymore. No insects buzzed beneath the damp grass surrounding your feet. You froze where you stood. Your fingers tightened around the wooden spear without you even realizing it. Nothing had appeared yet. Somehow that made everything even more terrifying. The smell of wet earth drifted through the air, yet not a single drop of rain had fallen. Far across the plain, an entire herd of deer suddenly turned. They ran as though they were fleeing from the sky itself. You still couldn't see the storm. Every living creature around you somehow already could. If you waited only a few more minutes, the trail ahead would disappear beneath rising water, deep mud, and shattered trees. If you chose the wrong shelter, the storm would never give you another chance to correct your mistake. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, your ancestors stood exactly where you are now, alone before the overwhelming power of nature. They had no weather forecasts, no solid houses, yet they somehow survived storms powerful enough to erase entire landscapes. So how did they recognize nature's warning before the sky decided to unleash everything it had? You took another cautious step. Dry grass brushed against your ankles, whispering softly across the silent ground. The air suddenly felt heavy. Every breath became slower, as though the sky itself was pressing downward. The warm golden sunlight slowly faded. A cold gray shadow quietly spread across the endless plain before your eyes. You looked toward the horizon. Towering black clouds rolled together like enormous waves swallowing the distant sky. A cold gust brushed across your skin. Every hair on your arms instantly stood upright. Then one familiar sound after another disappeared. The forest became so silent that your own heartbeat echoed inside your ears. The birds circling overhead suddenly changed direction. Within seconds, they vanished beyond the darkening hills. Far away, several deer lifted their heads. They remained perfectly still before exploding into a desperate run toward higher ground. Today, scientists know that some animals can detect subtle environmental changes before severe storms begin to develop. Your people knew nothing about air pressure. They simply understood that when every animal fled together, danger was already close. The oldest hunter slowly knelt down. He released a handful of dry grass into the changing wind. He never spoke a single word. One look across the tribe was enough for everyone to understand. No one questioned the decision. Adults packed the dried meat, gathered the firestones, and woke every sleeping child. You still hadn't seen a single raindrop, yet every instinct inside your body screamed that time was almost gone. Then the first crack of thunder ripped across the sky behind you.
Hurry, faster!
The race between your tribe and the coming storm had finally begun. The entire tribe immediately leaves the open ground as the first cold raindrops begin striking your shoulders and hair. The wind suddenly changes direction, roaring across the grassland and sweeping dust and dry leaves into long, twisting streams. The children are quickly lifted onto shoulders, while the strongest adults carry only firestones and the most essential animal hides. You run with the group toward higher slopes where rainwater flows downward instead of gathering into dangerous surging floods. No one knows how long the storm will last. But the elders remember which hills once kept the tribe alive. Those memories pass through generations in stories beside the fire, not through maps, markings, or written directions. Thunder draws closer, with every moment crashing repeatedly across the sky until the ground trembles faintly beneath your feet. Rain begins falling like a waterfall, turning the familiar path into slippery mud that makes every step heavier and slower. Small streams appear across the hillside, then rapidly merge together and grow stronger within only a few short minutes. A young hunter points toward a narrow ravine, believing the shortcut will help the tribe escape the storm much faster. The older hunter stops him immediately, never taking his eyes from the dark cliffs collecting water from the higher ground. Today, scientists know that narrow ravines can become channels for deadly flash floods within minutes of intense rainfall. The tribe changes direction at once, choosing the longer, steeper climb even as exhaustion begins weakening every aching leg. A terrible roar suddenly erupts behind you as muddy water carrying rocks and broken trees tears through the abandoned ravine. No one dares look back again, and the tribe keeps moving through the heavy rain now covering the entire valley. Powerful gusts nearly knock you down repeatedly as the ground beneath your feet becomes increasingly slippery, soft, and unstable. A large cave appears ahead beneath the cliff, causing several exhausted hunters to immediately rush toward its dark entrance. Inside, everything feels quieter and calmer, as though the thick stone walls have finally blocked the storm's violent force. You approach the cave entrance and hear steady dripping echoing from somewhere deep within the cold and shadowy interior. A flash of lightning reveals a floor covered with rotting leaves, broken branches, and scattered fragments of old animal bones. Ancient humans could not measure a cave's safety, so they learned to read the warning signs left by nature. Mud stains high along the walls reveal that floodwater had entered this cave during earlier periods of violent rainfall. The older hunter touches the damp ground, then silently signals that everyone must leave this place without further delay. The tribe follows the cliffside toward a higher ledge, narrower and colder, but safely beyond the direct path of runoff. Everyone gathers the children in the center while dry animal hides protect the tribe's precious remaining firestones. You raise your head as a sharp cracking sound suddenly echoes from the mountainside directly above the entire group. A massive tree, weakened after hours of soaking rain, begins falling straight toward the place where the tribe is standing. The massive tree slams into the rocky slope only moments after the entire tribe throws themselves aside to escape its path. The cracking wood echoes across the valley while sharp rocks explode outward, forcing everyone to flatten themselves against the ground. You can still feel the mountain trembling beneath your feet, as though its fury has not yet come to an end. No one suffers serious injuries yet. Everyone realizes that luck alone cannot save the tribe another time. The relentless rain soaks through every animal hide, stealing away the last traces of warmth still clinging to your body. The older hunter immediately checks the pouch containing the firestones, knowing that fire matters more than any other possession. For ancient humans, losing fire meant losing warmth, clean water, cooked food, and protection from dangerous predators after nightfall. Archaeologists believe many prehistoric communities carried glowing embers or fire-starting materials whenever they were forced to travel long distances. The strongest adults shield the firestone pouch with their own bodies, ignoring the freezing rain pouring relentlessly across their backs. You continue following the cliffside, searching desperately for a place dry enough to rekindle the fire before darkness completely arrives. The sky grows darker with every passing minute, even though the sun has not yet disappeared behind the thick storm clouds. A freezing gust suddenly sweeps across the mountainside, carrying the scent of wet earth and the distant howls of wolves. The elder suddenly stops walking silently, staring into the dark forest ahead without saying a single word. You struggle to see through the curtain of rain, but the forest ahead has become nothing more than shifting black shadows. A pair of glowing eyes catches the lightning before disappearing again behind bushes, shaking violently beneath the powerful wind. Moments later, more pairs of eyes begin appearing, one after another, silently watching every step taken by the exhausted tribe. The wolves know that storms leave humans tired, scattered, and far easier to hunt than under normal conditions. Today, scientists believe many predators deliberately exploit severe weather because it dramatically increases their chances of a successful hunt. The older hunter signals everyone to tighten the formation, keeping children and the weakest members protected safely in the center. The adult hunters grip their stone-tipped spears tightly, stepping backwards slowly while refusing to turn their backs on the predators. You hear deep growls rolling through the rain, sometimes nearby, sometimes distant, yet none of the wolves attacks immediately. The wolf pack seems to be waiting for the perfect moment when fear finally shatters the tribe's defensive formation. No one dares run because ancient humans understood that fleeing often triggered the powerful chasing instincts of hungry predators. Every second feels unbearably heavy as both humans and wolves silently watch each other, waiting for the first fatal mistake. Then the faint cry of a frightened child. suddenly breaks through the cold rain and the suffocating suns. At that exact moment, a massive dark figure bursts from the bushes and charges straight toward the center of the tribe. The dark figure charges forward with incredible speed, but the hunter in front lowers his spear just in time. The massive wolf suddenly changes direction before reaching the stone point, sliding across the mud before disappearing into the rain. The rest of the pack immediately begins growling, yet the tribe keeps its protective circle tightly closed around the children. You grip your spear with both hands, struggling to keep your footing on the slippery ground beneath your feet. No one attacks alone, because anyone leaving the circle immediately becomes the easiest target for the waiting predators. The ability to cooperate as a group once allowed early humans to survive against predators far stronger than themselves. The elder hunter lets out a powerful shout, and everyone slams their spears against the rocks at the same moment. The thunderous noise, combined with flashing lightning, finally makes the wolves hesitate, before slowly backing away into the darkness. But the storm refuses to release its grip as freezing water begins flowing around your ankles in growing streams. You notice the hillside behind the tribe becoming softer while small rocks continuously tumble down toward the valley below. The entire tribe immediately leaves the forest, following a strip of solid rock leading toward even higher ground. A woman suddenly slips while carrying her child, and you rush forward to pull both of them back to safety. Behind you, a massive section of the hillside suddenly collapses, sweeping trees, rocks, and mud across the place where everyone had just been standing. Near dawn, the final rumble of thunder fades into the distance, leaving the valley beneath light rain and freezing mist. The tribe discovers a shallow rock shelter high enough to avoid rising water and sheltered enough to block the bitter wind. The soaked animal hides are wrung dry, while carefully protected bundles of dry grass are finally taken from their pouches. The elder hunter strikes two firestones together, but every tiny spark dies almost instantly in the damp air. Everyone forms a wall with their own bodies, shielding the small fire from the lingering wind and bitter cold. After countless failed attempts, a thin trail of smoke finally appears before a small flame slowly comes back to life. No one celebrates aloud, yet every face changes as warmth gradually returns to their freezing hands and exhausted bodies. The storm has destroyed familiar paths, washed away precious food, and forced the tribe to abandon its trusted shelter. Yet memories of rivers, cliffs, and the warning signs hidden in the land continue keeping everyone alive. Ancient humans could never control the weather, but they learned to read its warnings before disaster finally arrived. That knowledge lived not inside books, but within stories shared around the fire from one generation to the next. You look across the devastated valley and realize that humanity's greatest strength was never physical power alone. It was the ability to observe, remember, cooperate, and pass hard-earned experience to those who had never faced such storms before. If you had lived during that time, would you have recognized the warning signs before the sky finally collapsed above you?